Good day everyone, my name is Alex and welcome back to a new review. For today we have a mid-range device from LG called the Stylo 3 Plus. And of course, as the name suggests, the device comes with a stylus, which makes it a bit unique. There is also a 5.7-inch display with a 1080p resolution. And realistically, if you're looking for a device that has a stylus, you can either get this one or the 2-year-old Samsung Galaxy Note 5, which is probably 3 times more expensive than this. Moving on to specs, we have the Snapdragon 435. This is an Octa-Core CPU clocked at 1.4 GHz. We also have 2 GB of RAM, 32 GB of internal storage, and the device is running Android 7. The phone weighs only 150 grams and it's mostly made out of plastic, so the frame and the back are made out of plastic, but even like that it doesn't feel like a cheap device. And since we have a 5.7-inch screen, the phone is not small, so it's definitely not gonna be easy to use this holding it in one hand. Now, before we go any further, can you guys help me out by pressing that like button? It's gonna make a huge difference for this video. Alright, so the back of the phone is removable, and that means that we also get a removable battery. Just above the 3080 mAh battery, we have the slot for the SIM card and the SD card. Now, unfortunately, you're not gonna be able to use the SD card as internal storage, so you can still save pictures and music onto the SD card, but you're not gonna be able to install apps onto the SD card. And since we are talking about storage, out of the 32 gigs that comes with the device, we have about 23 left, but the speeds that I got for the internal storage are decent. And since the back of the phone is made out of plastic, it will get scratched quite easily, so I do recommend getting a case if you don't like scratches on your phone. Alright, so on the back there we also have a 13 megapixel camera, we have the flash and the fingerprint scanner. The fingerprint scanner, it's also the on and off button, so whenever you want to turn on the phone, you're gonna have to hold that fingerprint scanner pressed. Now, if you just touch the fingerprint scanner, the screen will unlock, and the fingerprint scanner it's accurate 10 out of 10 times, however, it's not the absolute fastest that I've seen. The fingerprint scanner also supports gestures, and one of the most useful one would be double tapping the fingerprint scanner to take a screenshot, and that's much easier to do than actually holding the phone and pressing two buttons in the same time. And lastly, all the way at the bottom, you're gonna find the speaker. Now, the speaker gets quite loud, but keep in mind that the speaker is pointed away from you. So whenever you're holding the phone like this, the speaker points that way, so not exactly towards you. And it's quite easy to actually cover the speaker whenever you're holding the phone. As I mentioned earlier, the phone's frame is made out of plastic. So on the left-hand side, you're gonna find the volume buttons. These ones are also made out of plastic. On top, we have a secondary microphone. And in the top right corner, you're gonna find the stylus. The stylus is mostly made out of metal, but we have a plastic tip, of course, but this is not as comfortable to hold as the stylus that you'd find on a Note 5, for example. The phone can also detect if the stylus is in or not, and if you're about to go without the stylus, the phone will definitely let you know. Every time the stylus is removed, you're gonna get a pop-up menu, and basically you can choose what you wanna do with that stylus. So you're gonna be able to write memos, you can just do a screenshot and then just draw something over that screenshot, and then you can just share that screenshot with anyone. You can draw anything, you have a whole bunch of options available for the stylus. And we are moving to the bottom of the device. There you're gonna find the 3.5mm audio jack, we also have a microphone and a micro USB charging port. The sound coming out of the 3.5mm audio jack, it's crisp and it gets quite loud, however it lacks bass. As for the charging port, this device supports fast charging, so you're gonna be able to charge the entire device from 0 to 100 in about 2 hours and 10 minutes. And the phone also supports OTG, and that means that you can plug in any USB stick and the phone will be able to read whatever you have on that USB stick. And we are moving to the front of the device, so even though we have a gorgeous 5.7-inch screen, we still have rather large bezels all around the screen, and that basically makes the phone larger than it should be. Although at the top you're gonna find a notification LED, we also have a 5 megapixel front-facing camera, a couple of sensors and a speaker. As for the picture quality, well, if you have plenty of light, the pictures do turn out great and with a lot of detail, but as soon as you don't have enough light, the pictures become quite blurry and grainy. And of course, the pictures that you've just seen were taken with this device. The screen looks great, and this is probably one of the best screens that I've seen for any cheaper devices. So first of all, the colors are nice and vibrant, the viewing angles are excellent, so you can see the phone no matter how you look at it, and the screen gets bright enough so you can actually use the phone outside. The screen sensitivity is on par with high-end devices, so I could compare this with my Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus, and you can touch the screen in 10 places in the same time and the screen will register. So I haven't had any issues whenever I was typing or playing games. And on top of that, the screen seems to be covered by some type of scratch-resistant glass, and of course I tried scratching it and it doesn't seem to get scratched. And moving all the way to the bottom of the screen, there you're gonna find the soft keys, and luckily you can actually customize those right from the software. So if you don't like where the back button is sitting, you can just go in the software and move it to the other side. This phone has a 3080 mAh removable battery, and that means that you can actually replace the battery with a different one if that's what you want. So because we have that power efficient Snapdragon 435 CPU, you're gonna be able to make it through like a day and a half and about 6 hours of screen on time. So the battery life on this device is quite good. So we get great power efficiency, but we don't get the highest performance from that Snapdragon 435. So of course the scores that I got on the Antutu benchmark and the Geekbench 4 aren't the highest out there. And even like that, the phone performs very well for most tasks. So for example, if you're gonna be using Chrome, scrolling up, scrolling down, zooming in, zooming out, pretty much anything that you're gonna do with Chrome works extremely well. On the YouTube app, the maximum resolution is 1080p at 60 frames per second, and all the videos that I watch at that resolution seem to go very smooth as well. So realistically, no issues for any apps that I tried. I was quite surprised to see that a game like GTA San Andreas, which is a very graphics intensive game, did perform very well on this device, and I had the game set at the maximum settings. So I'm very confident that you're going to be able to play pretty much all the games available in the Google Play Store, and most of them are going to do very well. The GPS unit inside this phone also works great, so it only takes a second to find your location, and once your location is found, the phone doesn't seem to lose it. Using Google Maps also works very good without any issues. As for sensors, well, the phone has more sensors than I was actually expecting, and we also have a gyroscope, and everything seems to work fine as well. For connectivity, the phone supports NFC, so we have an NFC chip inside, and that's something that you don't really see for cheaper devices. And of course, I tried the Android Pay, and it does seem to work very good without any issues. Now, it was a bit difficult to actually go in the store and record myself, but it definitely works. Aside from that, the phone can connect to 4G networks, and we also have dual band Wi-Fi. As I mentioned at the beginning, on the back of the phone we have a 13 megapixel camera. And of course, since this is a cheaper device, this is not gonna be the best camera ever. The camera app is fairly simple, but I like the fact that it's very quick, so taking pictures is done very quickly. We don't have that many options or settings in there, but this is again quite normal for a cheaper device. We also have an HDR mode in there and a whole bunch of filters that you can choose from, and overall the camera experience is not bad. With plenty of light, you're going to be able to take a whole bunch of pictures, and of course all the pictures that you're watching right now are actually taken with this device. Most of the pictures turn out very crisp and with a lot of detail, and I love the fact that the colors are very close to reality. Now, as soon as you don't have enough light, but this is normal again for cheaper devices, all the pictures become quite blurry and grainy, and it is a bit difficult to actually focus on a subject. So keep that in mind, this is not going to be the greatest phone for taking pictures in low light conditions. The phone comes pre-installed with Android 7 right out of the box, and of course on top of that we have LG's own skin. Now the last LG device that I used was the LG G4, and I have to be honest, this one is like 100 years ahead of that G4. The UI is fairly clean, but we still have a whole bunch of LG apps that you cannot uninstall, which is a shame because I don't really use most of the apps that come pre-installed. Moving in between screens is done very smoothly, opening new apps, closing apps, and even multitasking works somewhat good. Now keep in mind that we only have 2 gigs of RAM available, so you're not going to be able to have that many apps running in the background. As for the settings app, well, if you've been using LG devices in the past, this will look very familiar to you, but if you haven't, it's gonna take you a while to actually find all the options and settings because everything seems to be separated in a rather strange way. So even though the settings app, it's not my favorite thing about this phone, as I said before, if you've used LG devices in the past, this will look just like that. And it's time to conclude this video. So if you're looking for a cheaper device and you want to buy this in the US or Canada, this is probably a good choice. I mean, the phone, it's not that expensive. It costs somewhere around 200 US and 300 Canadian dollars. And you can actually buy this from pretty much all the providers. And that means that it's going to work with all the providers as well. We get a great looking screen, and this is probably one of the best looking screens for a phone this cheap, and we also get great battery life. Now the phone, it's not the fastest out there, but again, you can't expect that much from a phone that's this cheap. Alright guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did like it, press that like button, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.